Hello guys, the Revit was here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to generate or create your own rebar bending schedule and working with partitions and splitting up your rebar as per the schedule. And if you go to the sheet, you can also split it up into different bending schedules for the specific partition name that you are going to use. So stay tuned. Okay guys, let's get straight into this tutorial. So you'll see we have three different concrete beams here. They're all different lengths and different sizes. That is to show you what the different rebar lengths and sizes will do within your bending schedule and how you can distinguish by naming these reinforcement bars by different partitions, etc. So I'm going to show you how to set up a bending schedule first. So if you've opened the structural template, that is the preset template from Revit, you'll see if you go to schedules and quantities, the rebar schedule has already been done for you. But for this exercise, let's create our own schedule so we can see how this works and you can do your own template for the future. So you're going to right click on schedules and quantities, say new schedules and quantities. Then we're going to type in here rebar. There's your structural rebar. And I'm just going to call this rebar template. You can call it whatever you'd like. I'm going to say okay. Now it's asking us to put in the different fields to generate the schedule. So we're going to start off by the partition. We're going to just type it in here. So the partition is basically the name of the reinforcement. Would it be for your beam or your column or your slabs? But it can also be for a beam with a different size, like the scenario that we have. Okay, but I'll show you how that works a bit later. And then we're going to go to host count. So host count would be the number of beams of those specific sizes. Same with columns and bases. Then we're going to have the type. Type is the reinforcement diameter. Then the bar length, that would be the total cut length for this specific bar that you're going to have. Then we're going to have quantity. This quantity is going to be the total number of bars within that specific length. Okay, then we want the rebar number. That's just your reinforcement number that Revit automatically generates. Then we want the shape code. That is the specific code that you use for your reinforcement bar. Okay, then you're going to put in the A's and the B, C, D, and E. That's your lengths for your for your bars within that specific line. Then we're going to have the bar diameter. We're not going to use this, but we're just adding it in because we're going to generate a formula to calculate the weight. Okay, so for now, we're just going to say okay, and you'll see it's going to generate the schedule for us. Now, what I want to do is just make this schedule a bit smaller. So resize it. Just maybe make that 250. That's better, so it all fits within. Okay, so now let's start at the first instance. We want to just remove the millimeters here so it does not display in our bending schedule. So you go to manage, project units. I'll go to structural, and then I'm going to scroll down and look for reinforcement length. Just going to make the unit symbol to none, say okay and okay. So now it's removed that. Just ignore the bar diameter, it's still in millimeters. But like I said, we're not going to display this in our schedule. We're just going to use it for the formulas purposes. Okay, so now you will see here the partition name is going to pop up here, but for this exercise, we don't want the partition in this specific, we don't want it in a column form. We want it to actually sit here. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that. But before we do that, let's just make our schedule a bit neater and give it we can actually edit these names at the top. So you're going to see once you have more than one beam of a specific size, this host count is going to become 2. So we want to actually indicate that if you have 2 beams here, the quantity is going to become 4. But I want to display another column here that shows you the host count times the bars per member gives you the quantity. So how we do that is we go to edit. I want to add in a formula. So you say add calculated parameter. I'm going to type in here bars per member. And then I'm going to say I wanted the quantity divided by the host count. So you'll see that these fields that pop up here is the fields that's only within this rebar template that we have set up. So that's why it's important to bring in the specific field into your schedule if you want to create a formula with that specific field. So we're going to say OK. I'm just going to move this up so that it sits right there. Okay. Now I'm going to say OK. So what that then does is if I have the host count, which is 1 for this moment, times the 2 gives me that 2, but we just worked it backwards. So that's how we display our bending schedules. I don't know if you guys do it in a different way. You can leave out this step. Then I want to add in the weight. So I'm going to add in another formula. I'm going to say weight. Then I want to make it a structural discipline. And I want the mass there. The reason for this is so that it displays the units in kilograms. So I'm using the metric system. If you're using the imperial, it will obviously generate the specific unit that you work within in your country. Then if I go to the formula, so the formula for the weight calculation is going to be, I'm going to just put the bracket. Then you're going to take the bar diameter that we've added in. You're going to say to the power of 2. So how you do that is you press shift on your keyboard and the number 6 on your keyboard. Then it gives you that arrow which generates the power to 2 like that. Then I'm going to say divide by 162.28. That is the volume of the rebar, but that's in meters. So I'm going to say I want to convert it to millimeters because all these units are in millimeters in the schedule. I'm going to say times 10 to the power again of 6. Close my bracket. Then I'm going to times it by the bar length. So then bar length times the quantity, because that's the total number of bars that we are going to have in this specific beam. Okay, so that's how you do that. And you say okay. Then we're going to leave it at the end and we're going to say okay. Now if I just go to the right, you see that our weight has been generated for each row. Now we're going to start editing our actual appearance of our bending schedule because we've already added in all the parameters. So I'm going to go to edit again, and then you'll see here at the top you're going to have filters, sorting and grouping, formatting. This is where we're going to change our format, and then appearance is just how you want to have the schedule appear. Okay, so before we do anything else, we're going to start with formatting. So the partition I'm going to put as a hidden field. That means it's not going to be displayed here. in the schedule, but it's still going to be within our properties. It's going to be visible, but not in the schedule. Then the host count, I'm going to just leave as is, but I just want to center that so it looks neater. The bars per member, also just center. And then the type, also going to center that. The bar length, we will center that. Quantity, same. The rebar number, same. So it might seem a bit tedious. It's just, you can click on the A and press shift on your keyboard down to weight, and you can just do it all at once instead of actually doing it like I did it now. So then all of this we're going to keep except for bar diameter. We're going to have a hidden field there. So then we're going to say okay. Alright, so now it looks a lot neater. Then what you can also do is, if you want, if we go back to formatting, just going to bring this down. So if you want to change the host count name in your schedule, you can click on it and change that heading to number. So I'm just going to do that. Like I say, you can change it to anything you would like. The type, I know it's the diameter of the bar, so I'm just going to put diameter. Then bar length, I just like saying length. But once again, that's up to you. Then the quantity is actually the total number, like that. Then the rebar number is your mark. Shape, I just call it code. And then the ABCs and all of that are still fine. Just want to see if everything is in capital letters. Diameter, just going to do that. All right. So if you say okay, you'll see how it's changed all of that. Let's just go and change the length. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so just want to change that. So it looks the same. Capital letters. All right. So now that we've done this, now we can go and group these bar marks and also give it some totals here at the bottom, same for the weight. So the reason why we want to group this is because if any bar mark is the same, it means your bar diameter, your shape code, and your bar length are all the same. So we want to group them so that it displays better, and it's just the correct way of doing it. So how you do this, we go to edit again. Then we go to sorting and grouping. Then I'm going to change this sort by partition. So that's where I spoke about earlier, changing the partition to sit here at the top. So how you do that is you just say you want it as a header. And then the next one that we are going to do is the rebar number. We want it in a numerical order. And then I'm going to tick grant totals, just change it to totals only. And then I'm going to untick itemize every instance. The reason for that is so that those 07s can be combined. Now, to make sure that this works, we need to go to formatting again and then to our quantity, because our quantity is the total number, which we know here. We want to make sure that we say calculate totals. Okay. Then same with the weight. Go to the weight. You just want to say calculate totals so that it actually calculates the total weight. So now we're going to say okay. So now you see that our rebar numbers has actually been placed in numerical order and our weight has been added up. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to renumber the bar marks. So how you do that is you go to structure, reinforcement, and then reinforcement numbers. Just don't want to save now. So here you will see the rebar number actually starts at 2 and it goes to 11. So now I wanted to start on 1. So you type in 1 and then you say apply. So now you have 0 to 10. But the reason why that asterisk is there, it says here at the bottom, one or more gaps exist in the number sequence. So if you scroll down, you will see that there's a 1, then a 6, 7, 8, etc. So we want that 6 to become the number 2. So then just click here, remove gaps, and apply. So now you will see you only have 6 bars. Then you'll see the partition is unassigned. We're going to talk about that now. So just say OK for the moment. So now we have this perfect schedule. We have one bar mark. We have, numerical bar marks 1 to 6, which is great. Our total number of bars, our lengths, and all that we require for this moment. So if we go back to level 1, I'm going to show you now how to distinguish between the partitions. So if I want to distinguish between these 3 beams and have them in 3 different schedules, I will go and I'll highlight this beam. I'm going to go to filter, just untick, and just make sure rebar is ticked. Then here where it says partition, if I do a drop down, you'll see that there's nothing at the moment. So I'm going to call this the 400 by 800 millimeter reinforced concrete beam, and I press enter. So what has happened now is I've given this rebar a name. The rebar on this side does not have a name. So if I go to rebar template, the one that we set up, you'll see it's automatically pushed the bars that is assigned to the 400 by 800 beam into its own partition schedule. Okay, so if we go back and we go and change these rebar names to the specific beams, you're going to see what's going to happen now. So we do the same procedure. Then here you can see, if I do the drop down now, we can see the partition name here already exists. So that's how you know there are rebar partitions already set up. But we obviously want to change this to 300 by 600 millimeter reinforced beam. And I say enter. And I'll do the same with the bigger beam. 600 by 1 meter RC beam, and I say enter. Then once again I go back to my rebar template, and here you can see now it's actually generated our bending schedule to have 3 different partitions, and it just looks a lot neater now. But now you'll notice that the bar marks are all messed up again. So we can change that again. We go to structure, reinforcement numbers. And now you'll see, as I said earlier, there were no partitions, but now you have 3 partitions. And you'll see that you have all these different rebar numbers now. But now we can say, okay, but we want the 300 by 600 beam to start at rebar number 1. And then the 400 by 800, we maybe want to start at rebar 10. And then the 600 by a meter, we want to start at rebar number 20. And then I'll just say apply. Now you see it's automatically updated this so that the rebar for the first beam is 1 to 2, then 10 to 11, and then 20 to 21. So if we say OK, you'll see that it's updated the rebar numbers for us here. Now I'm going to show you, if I copy one of these beams over, what's going to happen with the quantities. So if I go to level 1 and I copy over this beam to there, and that beam I'm going to copy 3 or 2 times so that we have a total of 3. Just don't worry about it being over the other one, it's just for example. And then this one I'm going to copy 4 times. Now if we go to rebar template, you'll see what has happened here. So the reason for this bars per member not displaying correctly is because I forgot to actually change it by the formatting. We must also change this to calculate total so that it can give you the correct answer. You see, there we go. So if you say 3 times 4, you're going to have 12 of those specific bars within that row or schedule. We can now go and place this on a sheet. So we're just going to right click on the sheet, say new. Just going to use the A1 metric as an example. Then I'm going to pull in the rebar template. It's going to sit there quite neatly. Now you can also, if you want to not display some of these beams within this specific template, let's say you just want the 300 by 600 beam, go back to your rebar template, we go edit fields, then we're going to say filter by partition, and equals to 300 by 600 beam, and okay. So now you're just going to have 300 by 600 beam displayed on your sheet. So if I go back to my sheet, you'll see it's only displaying that beam. Now you can just duplicate that template. You can obviously rename this to whatever you would like. Call it the partition name. But for this example, I'm just going to show you if you want to just have the 400 by 800 beam. I'm going to say okay, change it to that one. So if I go to the schedule of the sheet again, I'll put in this specific one. So now you have basically two different schedules with two different partitions. So that is how you can split them up if you would like to do that, because you want to put it maybe on different sheets. So guys, that is how you do reinforcing schedules in a nutshell. Please let me know if you have any other questions for bending schedules. But thanks again for your support. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more of these types of videos. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.